I'm Delia from Delia Creates, and welcome to my Crochet Basics series. Today I'm going to teach you how to single crochet, and then we're going to make a fun bow with that stitch. You can put it in your hair, or I have a smaller one that you can make as a little bow tie. If you missed my first video, I talk about how to get started with crochet, the very basics, how to hold your hook, how to hold your yarn, and then I teach you how to chain stitch, which is actually the foundation for today's project. So if you're not comfortable with that yet, make sure you go back and check out that first video. For this video, we're using worsted weight or category 4 yarn and an I9 or 5.5 millimeter hook. I have a guide for yarn and hook sizes on my site if you need more information about that, as well as a blog post with a written pattern for this project, more pictures, and more information to help you get started. Before we can single crochet, we have to chain first. So tie your slip knot, insert your hook, and work 30 chains. Now we're ready to work our first row of single crochet stitches. You want to start in the second chain from the hook because the first chain pivots upward into the next row and counts as the first stitch in the row. Insert your hook into that second chain, yarn over, and pull that working yarn through that second chain. Now you'll have 2 loops on your hook. Now yarn over again, pull that yarn through both loops, and that is a single crochet stitch. Okay, we're going to do it again. Insert your hook into the next chain. Now I had to grab something mid-video and I was going to edit this out, but I want you to see how I pause the project. I just hold it with my non-hook hand and then come back to it. Yarn over, pull through that chain. You have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again. Now I want you to see this as well. I'm going to get stuck here. Sometimes the hook gets stuck between the plies of yarn. It's okay, just wiggle it and pull through. Sometimes I pull on that working yarn if the loop around my hook is too loose. Okay, let's do this again. Insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over again, and pull through both loops. Now keep single crocheting until you run out of chains. When you finish the row, you should have 29 single crochet stitches. Add the 1 chain that pivoted upward to start the row, and that should equal a total of 30 stitches. You may notice that this is different than traditional crochet techniques, which uses 2 chains to pivot up to the next row. I find that only using 1 chain helps eliminate holes and gaping on the sides of my projects. Now you're ready to turn to the next row. You can do this in your hands, but I feel like you can see it a little bit easier when I lay it on a table. So just flip it over, and now you're going to work from right to left, just like you did with the first row. Okay, start this row with a chain stitch, then work your first single crochet in that first stitch from the hook, that hole right there. This is different than traditional crochet as well, which has you skip that stitch. This modern approach to crochet helps keep the rows more square and even and prevents those loopy holes that I mentioned earlier from forming on the sides. As you continue to work your single crochet stitches down the row, you will notice that there's a braided texture to the previous row. There are 2 loops on top of each single crochet stitch from the previous row. Make sure you insert your hook underneath both of these top loops when you're working your single crochet stitches. If you only work in one of the loops, you will create a different texture and a little bit different shape, which we will use in future projects, but for now you want to insert your hook underneath both top loops. It's a common mistake to work in the hole under the stitch you just worked. Be sure to insert your hook in the next stitch. Continue to work single crochet stitches down the row, and when you get to the end, be sure not to miss that last single crochet stitch. It also helps to count your stitches to make sure you didn't miss any. Now we get to turn and do it all again. Chain 1, single crochet in that first stitch from the hook, and then single crochet on down the row. We will be working a total of 7 rows. If your project starts to curl up, that is totally normal. Just keep going. The more rows you work, it will start to flatten out. Just like I showed you in the chain stitch video, if you make a mistake or you need to back up, simply pull on the working yarn until you get to the point that you want to restart again. Pull up that first available loop, insert your hook, and then keep crocheting. Okay, you're almost done. You should now have worked 7 rows of single crochet stitches, and now we're ready to tie off. This will be different than a normal tie off, which leaves a 10-inch tail at the end. We're going to cut a tail that is about 2 yards long. We're going to use this tail to sew our bow together and then wrap it around the middle of our bow. To tie it off, simply yarn over and pull that long end all the way through. Okay, now we're ready to sew our bow together. Thread the end of your tail into a tapestry needle or yarn needle, which is basically a large sewing needle. Sometimes it helps to cut a fresh end or tape the end with some Scotch tape to help it fit through the eye of the needle. Alright, fold your project in half. We're going to sew these short ends together. Simply choose one corner, insert your needle through both layers, and then whip stitch all the way across. If it doesn't look perfect, that is okay. It's going to get covered up by wraps and wraps of yarn. Alright, open up the loop you've just sewn. Make sure the seam is down the middle. Remove your needle, you're almost done. Grab both tails and wrap it around the center of your bow. To help it get that cinched look, make sure to squeeze the middle as you go. There's no formula for this, just keep wrapping until it looks how you want. I probably wrapped mine a couple dozen times. When you get to the end, use your hook to pull it through the layers of wrapped yarn and to help knot it in place. Make sure to do this only on one side so that you end up with a back side and a top side. Take care not to cut the end too close to the knot you just created so that it doesn't come undone. At this point, you can make it into a bow, thread an alligator clip into the back, add some glue to help secure it, or add a bow tie strap. I have more details on that on my website, deliacreates.com. The really cool thing about this project is you can make bows in different sizes using essentially the same pattern simply by changing the size of your yarn and the size of your hook. I have more details about this on my website as well. For more tutorials or the next lesson in this series, visit my website, deliacreates.com.